Alright, another video. Sorry. Yeah, it's going to be a ton of this stuff. So, put it off for later, mark it something. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'm going to deal with this one more time. This Broken Mech in Mendham's involuntary antinatalism. It really is just a stupid argument. I've made the same argument about vegetarianism. Like, eventually, it'll get to a point where the consensus, the vast majority of people are vegetarian, and they will say to the meat eaters that we're just not going to play along anymore. I mean, we weaned you off, we tried to get you to stop doing it, and now it's just game over. You just can't do it anymore. You can't lock animals in little cages and torture them for your own gluttony. So it's game over. And yeah, it's like that with any kind of, either you think something is right or you think it is wrong. If you're not going to fight to protect against the wrongness, then my opinion, that's unethical. If you're not willing to defend what you believe to be victims from being victimized, then you suck. So yeah, I'm going to fight for it, and I'll give you any kind of fight you want. I'll give you democracy. I'll give you a, Thunderdome. I'll go in. I'll go in. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, kind of thing. And, you can cheat a little bit, get yourself the best warrior possible. I'm still going in the cage, and I'm still going to fight. Because what you're doing, what you're sanctioning, is wrong. Period. It's just fucking wrong. And you know that. You know that there's no choice for anybody who believes in these basic facts. Okay? Somebody who believes in evolution, believes a DNA molecule is not intelligent, believes that sentience is just a tool that's been bestowed to certain biological organisms to allow them to better navigate environments, and that there's a huge amount of waste built into that system, and that all our drives and desires just get us motivated to climb hills that don't matter, to play gladiator all the time, kick the guy lower than us, grab the pant leg of the ones higher than us, playing this stupid game that creates a lot of collateral damage, destruction, harm, pain, suffering for nothing. That the pains and the sufferings are far outweigh in terms of their magnitude, the substance of the trivial pleasures that are built out of these silly ego gratifications, these, just complete crap of I'm superior, I'm better than they are bullshit. And so again, I'll analogize it to this picking of the straws, that you're pulling straws for somebody else's welfare. And you pull the small straw, you hand it to the person, you just say, tough shit, you got a short straw, too bad, I pulled it. That's what you get. I mean, why should I endorse anything like that? And I'm almost going to argue that all the straws are short straws. I mean, if life doesn't kill you by beating the shit out of you, torturing you, it will, killing you in a war when you're 19 years old, in a horrible manner, shot in the gut. Yeah, the point is that even if you draw the privilege stick, you're a shithead, you're a piece of crap. Alright? If you're living a luxury life, a protected, insulated life, well then, yeah, you're feeding off all these poor laborers, you're feeding off people whose life sucks. As they work 10 hours a day to run your comfort engine. So then you suck, because then you're just a big giant Jabba the Hutt leech. You're a big parasite off of other people's suffering. And then if you do the conscientious, I'll be a good janitor, and I'm going to be a productive human being, and I'm going to prevent more suffering, and I'm going to go out in the world and prevent suffering, well then you're just a soldier, and then you're just going to get beat up. You're going to get beat up year after year after year. It's going to be a hard, difficult, tough life. So why would I want any one of those straws? Why would I impose any one of those lives on anyone? Oh, that's right, I wouldn't. I would consider it a crime. I would consider myself a criminal. If I did it, I would fucking sentence myself and, throw myself in prison. So why shouldn't I see it exactly like that? Why shouldn't I see it as just as bad as rape or molestation of children? It's just a taking because you're greedy, because you want. And you're going to play God with somebody else's welfare. Because you want something, you're going to risk their welfare to get what you want. Now, why should I let you use somebody else as some kind of mat you throw on the ground so you can step over some mud? Why should I do that? Fuck you. So anyway, let's play this idiotic, moronic video. This is the last time I want to communicate on this subject. This is just stupid. You want to talk about the end game? Talk about it all you fucking want, idiot. But it's irrelevant to the fundamental point, which is life is fail. It's running a deficit. And by structure, it can't do anything else. Because it's not designed to create something. It's a fucking molecule reproducing, idiot.
So I know I said I'd made my last comment on the antinatalism stuff, but I just keep thinking about it, so I just want to...
Yeah, what exactly are you thinking? I mean, what is it? Like I said, would you go to war to defend people's rights to have babies? To defend their right to impose on another individual a life they didn't ask for? To put them at jeopardy they didn't want to be put at? To allow people to essentially give a group of 4 kids a gun and play Russian roulette? That's what you're doing. You're saying, yes, I would sanction that behavior. And you would fight for that. You would be willing to die in a war for that. For the right to play silly fucking games with other people's welfare. Ah, brilliant.
To say that I really feel the focus of the criticism of the anti-natalist position, especially those on YouTube, and those basically surrounding Inmendham and really mirroring a lot of his ideas and his positions on this subject. The focus of the criticism...
Yeah, the same old whiny complaint. Instead of defeating any of the metaphors or any of the logic connecting these things to other ethical crimes, talking about drunk driving, rape, child endangerment, recklessness, gluttony, instead of dealing with any of these real things that are real elements of this discussion and whether society has a right to tell people they can't jeopardize other people's welfare, instead of talking about that and explaining how they're completely different things, okay, you just keep whining about the people making the argument. Why don't you try making an argument about the argument, you stupid weasel?
Criticism should be on the fact that they are advocating for an involuntary antinatalism, because where they want to bring the focus to the argument, and they leave that aspect of it.
I mean, this whole game playing with words and involuntary, isn't that just like saying that, oh, you defend laws against, an involuntary right to rape? I mean, what the fuck? You don't call it. Well, we have a policy of involuntary rape privileges, or something like that. I mean, why play these stupid word games? Yes, we wish to abolish the crime of playing God with somebody else's welfare. That's right.
Unspoken. Their argument sounds so much more innocuous and benign. They don't have to account for the fact that...
Yeah, well, look, the argument is that simple, though. I mean, first, you'd like people to do the right thing. You could incentivize doing the right thing. But again, you keep ignoring the argument. There is no all or nothing here. It's almost like a vaccine policy. If people aren't going to play along, then they can't enjoy the privilege of the immunity. All right? I mean, the sacrifice has got to be imposed on all, or it's imposed on none. And because every couple is capable of being, there was 2, there was one human, one first human, and it's now grown into 7 billion. You don't understand how there's no point in stopping natals if you're going to leave natals around to natal? You just don't get it, do you?
They're advocating doing harm in the name of preventing some perceived greater harm, which, that's a separate argument in itself.
Yeah, no, it isn't. It is the whole argument, and it's the whole foundation of every law that ever was passed, is that, yes, you impose on a person's liberty to protect a greater freedom. Idiot.
It's the argument that they should be having to make. It's the one they should be having to defend, because the argument.
We should defend what? Having an argument, first implementing policies to make it fair, because it's already been a slanted system. We've been subsidizing these natal assholes for a long time. We should stop subsidizing their behavior, call it what it is, irresponsible, reckless, gluttonous nonsense. Then we have a democratic process to discourage birth. We implement fair law that says you can't have more than 2 kids, and you get a voucher system and the whole thing. And then finally, if there's some holdouts who still want to fuck the law, fuck the principles, fuck the democracy, and do whatever the fuck they want, well, that's right, you kick those fuckers in the ass.
It's left to just sort of imagine as if it's voluntary antinatalism.
Yeah, well, again, what's the point? Voluntary slavery, voluntary rape, voluntary child molesting. What's the fucking point? You don't sit there and go around the world explaining to people why they shouldn't molest children. You tell the molesters to go fuck off!
It's not an issue. It's not a big deal if people choose not to have children because of the reasons, or the overpopulation, or the ethical reasons of antinatalists.
Yeah, well, whatever. Again, we've used this antinatalist. The point of the book that the word is derived from, and certainly the argument I have been making, both of those are consistent with the idea that the whole point of the damn thing is to recognize its fail and to give it up, to stop it. All right, and if you're not going to stop it, there's no point in there's no point in removing me from this house if you're just going to fill this house with a bunch of natalers.
That's people's personal choice, and
says you. It's their choice to play games with other people's welfare. We're just simply saying, no, it's not a matter of choice. Yes, you have the biology to do it, but biology alone doesn't give you a right. A right has to be something, it has to come from some authority. And your authority has to be articulatable. You can't just say, I'm going to do it because I want to. I want to isn't good enough. You have to say more than that, a lot more than that.
Most of us understand that, and that's why we're pro-choice.
Well, why don't you extend that pro-choice attitude to all these other behaviors then, all these other impositions, all these other people who play games with other people's welfare? Why aren't you pro-choice on drunk driving? Are you? Are you pro-choice on rape? Are you pro-choice on, well, if I have my own kid, he's my property, I can molest him, right? Are you pro-choice on that? I mean, where does this pro-choice crap end? I mean, what's your defining line? How egregious does the ethical trespass have to be? You're playing God, okay? Again, the metaphor holds. You're drawing straws. There's short straws where you're drawing them from, and then you're going to dole them out to people arbitrarily. Who the hell are you to do that for them? Who the hell are you to roll dice with their welfare? Who the fuck are you to hand a gun to 4 kids? Who the hell gives you the right? No, that's right, nothing gives you the right. Biology doesn't give you the right to do that. My intelligence gives me the right to say that's goddamn fucking insanely stupid, and I'm going to stop it.
But it absolutely needs to be the anti-choice element of antinatalism that needs to be defended by antinatalists. They should be on all fronts forced to confront the fact that they are advocating harm.
They are advocating the undoing of an imposition. That's all it is. It's a DNA molecule replicating. They've drawn the conclusion the DNA molecule is dumb and stupid. It doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. So we, as the biggest intelligence in the ball game, we're going to stop the DNA molecule from doing what it's doing. Yeah, not that complicated.
They want to force people to not have children, and it absolutely is a question of, well, How could that?
Well, no, we're going to force them again. I'll say it. I mean, maybe it's possible that they can actually license themselves, that they could actually say something brilliant enough to explain why they should have a right to impose this jeopardy on a new consciousness. For what purpose will it accomplish? What productive accomplishment will be done through this mechanism? And if they can't articulate that, then yes, they fail. They fail the test. That's the licensing standard. So I'm not saying there's not possible for people to not acquire a license to have kids, but so far I don't see anybody doing anything to explain why they have a right to play this kind of God.
Be implemented without, basically doing harm to people. I mean, even in the most fantastical sense, if you could do it painlessly and you could just sort of point to, your...
Well, again, you're going to keep describing it like it's like it's the greatest horror, that you deny people the right to do biological experiments and to play a game with consciousness, a stupid hope game. I just hope it'll all turn out okay, and he won't die, like of course everyone always does, and he won't get any diseases like everybody gets, and he won't have to struggle, and he won't have enough intelligence to know that I've basically sentenced him to play an idiotic moron's game where you never win, because the only way you win is by eating somebody else's welfare. And so as long as he stays dumb enough not to realize that, I win. Well, that is pretty stupid. It's just so fucking dumb on its face. Of course, anybody who is for that is an idiot.
Your satellite beam down at the individual breeders and boom, painlessly make them sterile. It is still, you're taking my body. And
what made it sacred? What makes your body sacred? Again, sounds like almost some sort of religious talk, like somehow you have a sacred right to do something. You don't have any sacred rights. You have earned rights. So earn the right. Explain where you acquired your ownership of the right. And if all you're going to say is a DNA molecule says so, not good enough.
You're forcing a change on it. You're taking something that I'm born with, it's my autonomous being, and you're messing with it.
Again, it's just nonsense. So we could all talk about our autonomous parts and what we are allowed to do with them and what nature designed me to be, so I'll get all sacred about it and say I have the right to fucking pull your eyeballs out and eat them, and I have not committed an ethical crime because I've done exactly what the DNA has made me do, which is kill scumbags and eat their fucking brains. I mean, what the fuck is that crap? I have a right because nature says so. That is absolute nonsense, and you know it. You argue against the very same might makes right kind of bullshit in every other fucking subject you ever argue, and now you're going to argue for your right from nature? Well, then you have no right to argue for any kind of social policy. You have no right to steal other people's money. You have no right to do anything that is against the Darwinian principle. You fucker, if you're going to use that as your source of your rights. No, that's not where you get your rights. You get your rights by articulating an explanation for why you should have an authority, a controlling authority.
That. So, short of that, if you're not doing something like that, every other scenario involves, you're criminalizing it. And that's going to result in, again, this would be harmful to the people who you're criminalizing their desires and their actions and their behaviors.
That's right. You put in policy and you tell people this is the way we're going to play the game. We're going to have children that are vaccinated against horrific diseases so we live without those horrific diseases. That's what you're going to do. That's right.
And the fact that the anti-natalists have arguments against this, that's fine. They can have those arguments, but that's where the arguments should be made, because that is the ethical.
No, that is completely irrelevant. Okay, the argument has been made. This is why we are soldiers in the war for preventing the imposition. We've made it clear why the imposition is a crime. We've metaphored it to other things in society we have declared to be crimes. You have not explained how there is some grand distinction between these perceptions beyond the fact that you're horny to have kids and you want to have kids and you want there not to be something to stop you from having kids. You have nothing but your own selfishness as a defense for your behavior. You have no other logical defense for why anybody should impose life on anyone with this risk equation in place. Why should you drag somebody to a place they don't want to go where they're going to endure harm, suffering, and death? Why should you have a right to throw them in the trunk of your car, drag them to your wherever yachting adventure or your frivolous joy ride at their expense, at their suffering, and why? Why should you have the right to do that? There is absolutely no rational reason why you should have a right to do that.
So, problem with their whole position, the main ethical problem, is that they are advocating harm.
No, again, you conceded the point that there's this little bit of inconvenience going to be imposed in the short term for this huge gain in the long term. So that's an idiotic argument, and the same argument could be argued for every law that's in place, that we're harming the poor drunks because they're terribly inconvenienced, and some of them actually die because we have laws telling them they can't drive their car home. And the same with the molesters and the rapists and all the rest of them. We're denying them their satisfaction and their comfort. So this is an idiotic, stupid argument. It goes absolutely nowhere. You have to deal with the fundamental facts of why it has been declared an ethical crime. Arguing about the fact that people who think something is fundamentally and horrifically wrong, that it's goddamn so wrong it's evil, and then saying, well, why would they do anything about that? Why would they fight for that to stop? That's ludicrous for them to fight to stop it. Of course they're going to stop it, you stupid cunt.
So, anyway, I guess I want to focus on that because I feel like they are being disingenuous to when they're not confronted with this, when they're not set, and when they're not sort of backed into a corner of defending this aspect of what they're advocating. They're quite happy to let that part just go unspoken.
Yeah, well, you're just a naysayer like 200 years ago against slavery, and you're creating this boogeyman. Oh, these people who want to end slavery, they want to take away all our productivity, and our entire culture and civilization, and our entire lifestyle will be ruined by these bastards who want to fuck it all up. Screw our rights, our inalienable rights of our grand white race, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so you're just a fearmonger.
And to make it sound as if there's no harm in people not having a kid.
No, that there's great harm in people having children. There's great jeopardy that they're put at. That it is a fucking goddamn unethical behavior. You are putting somebody else at risk and jeopardy without having any qualifying competence, any qualifying knowledge, any qualifying ability whatsoever to control the experiment. You are fucking with other people's welfare, and you have no goddamn evidence of your competence. Now, if that isn't the description of an asshole, I don't know what else is. Asshole.
That's all we're saying. Don't have kids. What's the harm in that? You act like we're pulling out your teeth. But the reality is that they are advocating physically stopping you from having a kid.
Well, goddamn. We've advocated physically stopping rapists and physically stopping child molesters and physically stopping animal abusers and physically stopping murderers and physically stopping other people who are pretending to be able to play God. Fuck you, asshole. Selfish bastards, that's right. Fuck the selfish bastards of the fucking imposition. That's right. Fuck them.
And that involves them, infringing on your personal rights, your autonomy,
your unearned declaration of authority. I have a right to do these experiments because the DNA says so. Again, what? Who's supposed to respect that? I mean, what a phony declaration. Shall I declare myself president? Maybe I'll just write on a piece of paper. I'm president of the universe. Signed me. There, I've proved it. I'm president of the universe. Right? Can't you read it? It's in perfectly good invisible ink.
Individual freedoms. And that needs serious justification.
Yeah, you're the ones who are doing the imposing. So that's right. You're the one taking the aggressive action. It needs serious justification. You're providing no justification. And we are sensibly saying, well, without justification, fuck you, bastard.
It's not enough to merely have some, philosophical idea about how
well, I mean, that just could be used against every single person in jail. Could just well, it's not enough for you to tell me I can't do it because you have some sort of logic-based theory that my crimes were wrong. Fuck you. Okay, the guys I mugged all deserved it.
Being unborn, it's better than being born. I mean, we're drawing.
That's not the argument. So you can't even get the argument correct. The point is that you're drawing straws for somebody else. You're gambling with somebody else's welfare, and you have no right to gamble with somebody else's money. You can't go to Vegas and do that by law. You can't go to Las Vegas, sign a piece of paper saying, I'm going to bet Gary's house, and then bet Gary's house, and then Gary goes homeless because your dice turned up bad. You can't do that. We have a law against it, asshole.
These analogies to murder and rape, that doesn't justify what they're advocating.
I'm sorry, until you explain how those analogies don't fit, how the gambling analogy doesn't fit, the straw drawing analogy doesn't fit, the drunk driving analogy doesn't fit, the rescue mission analogy doesn't fit, an ambulance speeding. There's 4 right there. You haven't explained how any of those are not incredibly similar in circumstantial reality. That the math is basically the same math.
In my opinion.
Well, yeah, you're unsupported, undefended, unarticulated, nonsensical. I just fucking think so because I'm a fearmonger and I like babies. That's all you got. You got nothing. Well, I had babies. That's your excuse. So you're just making rationalizations for your own unethical behavior.
Hey, cheers.
And that is all you're doing. Excuse making. Anyway, till next time and such. Sorry, we have more to come.